All right. So we are at about 2 minutes after. We want to respect your time, and we try to work hard to be respectful of everyone's time, and we want to start on time as much as possible. And so to provide some welcomes and introductions, my name is Jason Pontes. I serve as an associate director for transition programs in the Bright Success Center here at UC Merced. For those of you who participated in orientation this past summer, or just a couple weeks ago, actually, you may recognize me. I was a part of the orientation team, and I have the honor and privilege of working with orientation at UC Merced, as well as our Ascend and New Student Experience. And as a part of the welcome today, I wanted to cover a couple of quick reminders with you regarding Ascend. And so for those of you who've already participated in your Bobcat 101 workshop, you've already heard me give the spiel, so please be patient with me or with us. But just a quick reminder that Ascend is a 3-part experience. The first 2 parts of which are live webinar experiences, one of them being the time management workshop that you are here for today, and the other one is a Bobcat 101 workshop that you will need to sign up and participate in, just like this experience here. The third opportunity is what we are calling a Be a Successful Online Learner module. That will be an experience that consists of three different components. The first is an inventory that's going to be available online. That is just a PDF document that you access and you complete at your own pace. You do not need to complete it and submit it anywhere for proof that you've completed it. That is reference information for you to help you think about how you will learn and how you be effective in an online environment here at UC Merced. The second part of the Being a Successful Online Learner sort of module is the part that is about the, sorry, there's my notes here. It's a online workshops that you can participate in, and those are asynchronous, meaning you can participate those at your leisure. You can start and stop them at any point in time. And the third part is to review the IT website on online learning as well. As there's a bunch of resources available for you all there to think about how, again, you can be a successful online learner for you. Complete those 3 parts and you will be considered completed in terms of your Ascend New Student Experience. In a few moments, I will post the Ascend website to the chat so you have access to that. And so if you still need to complete your Bobcat 101, you can sign up for a time there. Or if you're ready to participate in the Be a Successful Online Learner module, you'll complete that as well after this webinar today. So with that being said, obviously, once again, you are here for your time management workshop, and so welcome. I'm going to step aside here, and I'll be around kind of in the background supporting Q&A as much as possible. And so Q&A is active and live throughout this webinar, but this experience, as our host, our facilitator, rather, James, will share with you in a few moments, is more interactive than just a Q&A. If you have general questions about DENS or about the onboarding experience, feel free to post your questions in Q&A. I'll do the best I can to answer those as quickly as I can. But please be patient. Sometimes a lot of questions come in all at one time. Outside of that, the chat feature is live and active, and we do see some of you already using the chat feature. And so James will be using that throughout his presentation and workshop today. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and pause here and pass it over to my friend and colleague, James Barnes, Associate Director for Learning Engagement and Support in the Bright Success Center. James, it's all yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jason. Welcome. So glad to have you here today to talk a little bit more about time management. And what a great choice you've made in deciding to learn more about this before classes even start. This is great. And it's great because so many of our students, we've asked them over and over, will say that time management is the #1 thing they want to work on initially, and even after their first semester or year, it's the thing they want to improve in the most. And so you are getting a jump start on that right away with this time management workshop. So I'm so glad you're here. As Jason mentioned, this is designed to be interactive and engaging, and so it's not just going to be listening to James Barnes for this 45 minutes. And so we'll be using the chat function for that engagement. I don't always have a lot of time to check the Q&As, but Jason mentioned he's checking those. So, but we'll focus more of our engagement on the chat. So a couple of things just to get us started. One is, I'm going to post it again. There's a schedule. It's called the weekly schedule, and it can be found in this box folder that I just posted. So you want to download that and have that ready for our workshop today. We'll be using it a little later. And the second thing I want you to do is just spend a couple minutes reflecting on this quote that is on the screen. And time is the coin of your life. It's the only coin you have, and only you can determine how it will be spent, by Carl Sandburg. So think about that quote. What does this mean to you as you think about addressing time management as a college student. So you can write down some notes, think about this, and then we'll, after a minute or so, I'll open up the chat and we can share a little bit more. So download the schedule and think about what this quote means to you in relationship to time management. All right. So it's okay if you're still downloading that file. Please go ahead and do that and have that on your desktop. We'll be using it later. And we were asked to think a little bit about this quote. So what does this quote mean to you as you think about starting at UC Merced as a new student? And you can put your comments in the chat. Okay, using our time wisely. It's precious. Yeah. Thank you. Keep them coming. Yeah, lots to balance. Yeah, new things to balance that maybe you didn't have before. Excellent. Yeah. It's valuable. Don't waste it. Yeah. One is responsible. Yes. Spending it wisely. Not be able to get it back. Absolutely. Prioritizing things. Excellent. You're the master of your fate. It's not reversible. We can choose what we put our time into. Yeah, keep them coming. You have it. Really, some really good things. Yeah, and you got it. I mean, there's two things that I was hoping you'd get out of this quote. And one is that it's this valuable resource that you have. And so you have to think strategically about how to use it well. And the second thing is orientating you to this responsibility that you have. And a lot of times when we think about responsibility, we think of, oh, I'm responsible. I have to be responsible now. I'm an adult. But what I invite you to think about during this workshop is this is an exciting responsibility. And there's a story I'll share in a few minutes about this. But you get to invest in things that align with your values. You get to invest in things that are important to you in college. And there's a lot of choices. And so in terms of majors and activities and involvements, and so you can choose things that are going to align with your goals, and that's really exciting and hopefully very fulfilling for you. And so think about this as not a burdensome responsibility, but as something you can be excited about. Yeah. So and you're rich. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but you are. You have a richness in time in college, and that you have a lot of discretion about how you use your time. Many of you do, not everyone, but many of you do. There's some discretion about when you schedule your classes, when you decide to do your homework, and so taking advantage of that and investing in things that you care about is what we want to do with our time. Okay. Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing, everyone. Keep it up. All right. So we have another question for you here. Why do some people get so much more done than others? And some of you are maybe these people, or are these people at your community college, at your high school, and other people said this about you. And certainly all of us know people that get lots of things done. How does this work? How does this happen? Self-discipline, spending time wisely, prioritizing time, managing their time. Are we able to work faster? Sure. Scheduling properly, organization, planning out, yeah. Efficient, making to-do lists, being responsible. Absolutely. Yeah, keep them coming. Yeah, all these are right on. And I didn't hear anyone say that, oh, they just have more time than me. Which I've been guilty of saying. I don't know about you, but I've said that before, just casually about somebody, oh, that person just has more time than me. Well, that's not really true, is it? Because we all have the same amount of time. We all have 24 hours in a day. And so what effective time managers do is they manage their life rather than activities or people managing them. They're in control. They're responsible for how they use their time. And so I think this is a good thing to write down and keep as a reminder as you make all kinds of decisions in these first weeks of school. I am going to manage my life rather than activities or people managing me. And we usually talk about this in the context of being on campus and all these new relationships and friendships. But some of you are maybe here on campus, but many of you are in a house, in a place somewhere else. And so you have housemates, you have family, you have households that you need to have conversations with about this. And this is a great time to have conversations about this as you start this new experience, about knowing that this is a priority for you and that you have time, dedicated, set aside time to do this well. And creating a space for you to do this well as the time to do this well. And so having a conversation with other members of your household, it's a great time to do that. So I encourage you to do that today. Yeah. So yeah, some great things. Procrastination, absolutely. So, and this, I want to share this going back to, we talked about this idea of responsibility, and even with this managing their life. I had a friend in college, his name was Matt Koss, lived down the hall from me in the residence halls, and he couldn't wait every semester for these schedule books to come out. Now, when I was in college, they had these newsprint schedule books that would have the listings for all the classes that were going to be offered that next semester. And then you would go online, you would, make your schedule, go online and register for your classes. Well, Matt couldn't wait for these books to come out, even though he didn't schedule his classes for weeks later. So finally one semester I said, Matt, why do you do this? Why do you do this so far in advance, knowing classes are going to change, availability is going to change? And he said, James, I get to plan my life. I get to plan my life. He got it. He totally got what we're just talking about today, that he was in control and he loved it. He enjoyed that responsibility of being able to schedule his life. And so I invite you to embrace that same mindset. I get to plan my life as you begin to think about all these decisions you're going to make at UC Merced. It's exciting. Okay, so what we're going to do today, our focus is to find out if you do all the things you're supposed to do that's recommended to you for you to do at UC Merced, how much time do you have left over? Wouldn't that be a great thing to know before classes start? Whether you're experienced college student or new to college, it's going to be a little different here. And so being able to understand what those expectations are, and then how much time do you have left to do the things you want to do here beyond those basic requirements. And so we're going to start off here with this story. And at the end of the story, I want to ask you what the metaphor is, what the moral of the story is, okay? And some of you may have heard this story before. So if you do know the answer, just hold off on giving it until other folks have had a chance, okay? So we're starting off here, and the professor is asking us, is this jar empty or full? And you can weigh in on the chat. Full of oxygen, air, yes, yes, yes. It is full of air, and I'm not trying to trick you in any way. But it is empty of everything else. And so we're going to say it's empty. So we put some large rocks in it. And the professor again asked us, is it empty or is it full? Yeah, some of you thought it was a trick question. Still full, okay, of air and rocks. Some of you are thinking I'm trying to trick you. But again, we're thinking about what does this have to do with time management? It's not quite full yet. So we put some smaller rocks in. Is it full yet? Okay, not yet. Right. Okay, what about some sand? Adding some sand. Okay. Yeah, lots of no's. Not yet. So we add some water. Now is it full? Yes, I'm getting lots of yeses. Okay, other than this being a science experiment, what is the moral of the story? What do you think? What does this have to do with time management? Okay, you have time for more than things than just school. There's always gaps you can fill. There's always time. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and those are all partially true. There's always time. There often is time that we can fill, and we're going to talk about this as you do the scheduling activity. But go back to that slide that we had at the beginning. We all have the same amount of time, right? So there's not always more time to fill in. So some of you are starting to get it, but I wanted to bring you back to that. The large rocks went in first. Think about that. What does that mean? Yeah. Yes. Gotta put the big rocks in first. And a couple of you said this before my prompt too. You gotta put the big rocks in first. So what are those big rocks? Priorities. Okay. Yeah, great. What are those priorities? Classes, absolutely. Assignments. Work? Yeah, if you have a job and that's essential for you to go to school, absolutely. Homework? Eating? Absolutely. Yeah, we gotta drill down to the more basic needs here. We got eating, what else? Sleep, yes. What about just general taking care of yourself? Yeah, like showering and brushing your teeth. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to, there's some of the other things in here, relaxation time, things like that. We're going to find out how much time you have for those things. And so those things are important, definitely important, but those are not the big rocks. And so we want to find out what the big rocks are. Right? Well, we want to put in those big rocks first and then find out how much time we have for relaxation and other types of things. So we're just covering the sort of basic requirements of being successful at UC Merced. So let me ask you this. If we hadn't put those big rocks in first and we would have not measured carefully, we would have put some sand, rocks, water in there, and then put those big rocks in there, what would happen? They wouldn't have fit? Yeah, overflow. My hands are doing it. Overflow. How many of you have felt that in your life and not in a good way? My life is overflowing. And not in a good way. It can overflow in a good way too, but this is not this kind of overflow that we're thinking about is not the good. You feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed. There's too much going on, too many competing priorities. So this actually can, some of you talked about mental health, talked about stress. This can actually help you manage your stress in college by putting those important things in first and then find out what time you have left over. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to find out, what if you put all the big things in first? how much time do you have left over for other things? What are those other things you like to do? Just out of curiosity, if some of you wouldn't mind sharing. Writing, kickboxing, game development, TikTok, videos, yeah, dancing. Yeah, almost as fast as I can say them, you're thinking of them. This is great. Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to find out how much time you have for these things. So we want to get to this end of this activity, okay? We're going to move through it very quickly. So stay with me. And so I want you to pull up that schedule that you downloaded. If you joined us recently, I'm going to put it back in the chat here. You need to download the weekly schedule, but have that on your desktop and ready to type in. So a couple of things before we start. If you're downloading that, please do that right now. This isn't, when we do through this exercise, this is not your schedule. This is not your current schedule. I'm not even projecting that this should be your schedule. This is an exercise to see how many hours we have left over after we do everything we're supposed to do. We have a little bit of time at the end. I'll share with you how to use this. So the most important thing is getting to the end. And these things that I'm going to say, you may not be doing right now. And that's okay. But we're going to just find out if you did them, how much time would you have left over? Okay? So you have your schedule open. The first thing I want you to schedule in is sleep. Now, what research has shown is that college students, their mental health, their physical health, and their academics suffer if they don't get on average 7 hours of sleep a night. And so we're going to put that minimum in there. Maybe you like to get more sleep. Great. But we're not going to add that in right now. Just 7 hours, Sunday through Sunday, every day of the week, 7 hours of sleep. So on your schedule, most of this time is going to be off your schedule. And so what you're going to want to do is write a little 7 at the top of your schedule so you remember to add those hours in later. And again, this may not be what you're doing right now, and that's okay. But we're just using this as an exercise. Yeah, so right now we're just scheduling in the hours we are sleeping. And I'm asking you to put in 7 hours because that's what's recommended for optimizing your health and your academics. And so just schedule those hours in. And we're going to move through this pretty quickly. And so if you write sleep in every box, you're not going to finish. And so write sleep and draw a little arrow down, or use color coding on your computer. That helps too. And then you'll get to the end. Okay, so the next thing you're going to schedule is personal care time. Now, when I say personal care time, I'm not saying like, hey, I need to do yoga, or I'm going to, get dressed up and go out on the town. Not that kind of personal care time. This is just the basic stuff that I would argue every human being needs to do, like taking a shower, brushing their teeth, doing their laundry, those kinds of things. And so, if you shower in the evening, building that into your schedule, morning, build that into your schedule, brushing your teeth, those kinds of things. Just the basics. And I'd also add that many of you may have a spiritual practice, and so maybe going to a church or something like that's essential to your being. And so putting that in your schedule, if that's part of your life here. Other groups, like maybe you intend to join a Bible study or other things like that, we're going to find out how much time you have for that. Those things are important too, but we want to really focus on these big rocks first. So the next thing you want to put in your schedule are your meal times. And so thinking about how long you take to eat lunch and dinner, maybe some of you are helping prepare those meals. And think about this as like, I have to. That's part of my role in my household is preparing the meals or cleaning up after the meals if that's part of your responsibility. Not, I like to cook or I love to help clean up. Those kinds of things, we'll find out how much time you have for at the end. But if, as part of your responsibilities of living in your house, those things are part of what you're doing, then put them in your schedule. And this would also include shopping for groceries. If you're the designated person in your family to do that, again, this would be something you would do on like a weekly basis for your family or for your household. You'd put that on your schedule as well. And some of you, maybe you haven't been a breakfast eater in the past. I'm using that as an example, but we know that research shows that your brain likes breakfast, and your academics will be enhanced by eating breakfast. And so, having something in the morning, maybe you want to experiment with that. And so, getting a banana or an apple in the morning before you log on to class is something you want to include in your schedule. So I just summarized our schedule items that we've covered so far in the chat. Have we made it through meals? Usually I walk around the room and can tell, but I can't do that. I'll post the worksheet again. It's in this box folder. So download it, and then you'll have it on your desktop. So the next thing you want to schedule in are your class times. And some of you may have this information handy on your computer. You can use that. If you don't know exactly when your class times are, that's okay. You can estimate. And so you want to build that into your schedule. All your class times, your labs, your discussions, putting those in your schedule. And again, this is where abbreviations are good. Color coding is good because I think it's helpful to know what class, schedule them in separately. But if you write the whole title and every line, you're going to be here much longer than 45 minutes. And I also include some of you, this is not true for everyone, but some of you may already have a job that you are scheduled to work for and do, as of right now. And so you want to definitely put that in your schedule. Some of you may be an athlete, student athlete, and so maybe that's you've joined the team, you're on the team, that's part of your schedule. Some of you may be caring for a family member. That's part of your routine, that's part of your schedule. They depend on you, and a parent, a child, and so those are things you put in your schedule as well. So as we finish scheduling our classes, the next thing you're going to schedule in are your study hours. So for every hour you're in class, it's recommended you spend 3 hours outside of class studying for that class, preparing for that class. And so most classes at UC Merced are 4 credit units, which means that typically that means that there are 4 hours a week in class. And so for every hour you're in class, 3 hours outside of class. So how many hours would that be for a 4 credit class? 12. Yeah, exactly. Great. So if you're in 15 units, how many hours of studying a week would you be doing for those classes? 45. Absolutely. Yeah. So what you're going to start doing as you finish scheduling your classes, you're going to add in those study hours. And I would take it one class by one class. Do one class at a time. Schedule in those 12 hours or so and then move on to the next class. And this is where you can be a little bit more strategic. And so as you're doing that, I'll make some suggestions based on what we know about effective learning in college and what we know about how our brains work best. And so one of the first things to consider is what time of the day are you sharpest? Are you most alert? Are you able to really concentrate? Is it the morning? Is it the afternoon? Is it the evening? And so scheduling more of your hours at this time and also scheduling those more difficult subjects, the preparations for those classes at this time as well. And a lot of times people are like, 3 hours or 12 hours outside of class, that's totally foreign to me. And I never had to do that in high school. I never had to do that in my community college. And maybe you won't, but I would venture to say you'll be closer to that 3 hour mark than you think, if you're really preparing well and you want to do well here. And when I say studying, it doesn't have to be a solitary activity. And so thinking about your den that you're going to be a part of, and maybe some relationships will grow in that den that you can form a study group. Maybe it's going to your professor's office hours. Maybe it's going to one of our tutoring centers on campus, including the peer-assisted learning support that's out of the Bright Success Center in my office, where you can work with a peer tutor to help you do well in your classes. I know for me, I'd actually go to those. I go to math tutoring because I knew it was not my strong suit, even when I had no questions, because I knew it was a set aside location. If questions came up, I could ask them, get them answered right away. And it made my college life, I was more efficient because of that, because I wasn't struggling and trying to figure out stuff on my own. So consider setting aside specific times for specific subject areas every week. And so you do that for a few weeks, it becomes a routine. Our brains like routines. Sometimes we as humans are like, oh, I don't like routines. I like to be free. But our brains really value those routines. And so knowing that, Sunday at 2:00 is math time, you do that for a couple of weeks, it just becomes a routine. You'll feel strange if you're not doing it at that time. Another thing that students sometimes do is they'll say, oh, I'm just going to schedule all my hours on one day for this class. And I'd encourage you to spread those hours out throughout the week. If there's a term called distributed learning, and we actually learn better in that way, rather than just, trying to cram it in us in one time period. And so that's one reason to do it. And that repetition, doing something every day, can really help. An example I often use in my workshops is riding a bike. You only ride a bike once a week, it's going to take you a long time to ride a bike. But if you're practicing every day, you get better and better incrementally. And so spending time with those difficult subjects every day is important. And the other thing is, when you schedule large blocks of time, typically most people are good with about an hour and being productive, and then they need to switch to another subject area. So think about that in your scheduling too. Instead of setting aside 3 hours for one subject area, break that up and use that for 3 different subject areas. So per class, so if you're in a 4-credit class, Annette, then it would be 12 hours outside of class that you'd be studying. It's 3 hours for every hour you're in class. So typically the credit hours translates to how many hours you're spending in class. So if you're in a 3-credit class, it'd be 3 hours a week you're in class. If you're in a 4-credit class, you'd be in class for 4 hours during the week. I think the other thing to keep in mind is the importance of leaving some unscheduled time every day. Sometimes our tendency is like, well, this day's already busy, I'm going to fill it. I'm just going to pack it. And then the next day is going to be so much easier. And usually that leaves us very stressed and unproductive that next day or even that next couple days. And so leaving some unscheduled time is important. Another piece of advice that experienced UC Merced students would say is utilizing the time between classes is really important. And when students here on campus, especially in their first year, if they're going back to the residence hall, they're going home instead of staying, during the times between classes. And so experienced students learn that that's a good habit to get into. And so you can do that, think about doing that at wherever you are at your home or at your household. And that time between classes, even if it's 15 minutes, you can review your notes. And that adds into those hours that you have for that class, studying hours that you have for that class. Okay, so you want to be thinking about wrapping up that scheduling here in the next minute or two. And it's okay if you haven't scheduled everything in your calendar. What you can do is off to the side is just write down the hours you still need to schedule in, and you can add those up at the end. And you can finish this after the workshop and put those hours actually in the schedule. So class, let me know, are we getting close? Are we fairly close to getting those hours scheduled? Done. Okay. All right, great. So if you are done, then what you want to do is you want to add up those hours and then subtract from 168. Double check to make sure you have all those areas that we talked about scheduled, and then subtract from 168. And this is the point I want everyone to get to. What number of hours you have left over for really anything you want, because you've done everything you're supposed to do as a college student. So when you get that number, if you wouldn't mind asking, oh, is this a good number or is this the right number? There is no right or wrong number. It's all you and what you feel is good for you and what works for you. And I can tell you that some students here, and some of you will be these students, as you get more time here, you're going to be very busy, but you're going to love it and maybe love every minute of it. And busy is not bad. No one came to college hoping that, well, I hope to have hours and hours of free time. I've never heard any college students say that. That's why I'm here, to have lots of free time. So there is no right or wrong answer, but I think it can give us some clues about what we need to do. And maybe some of you need to look at all your commitments and pull back on some things to allow some space for for new things that might be happening here at UC Merced. So have we got those hours added up? Anyone? Okay, 29. Okay. Sierra, what are you going to do with those hours? What is that, like 4 hours a day or so? Kickbox. Yeah. And you got the time to do it. You have the time to do it. Absolutely. And I don't know about you. I've done lots of things in my life sometimes. And while I'm doing it, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, maybe I should be doing something else. And so knowing, like, I'm watching this Netflix movie, which is kind of fun, but I really should be studying. You know, you have some time to do Netflix. You have some time to watch a video, do a video game. You have some time to socialize and make friends here. 22, great. Yeah, 18. Yeah, great. So what are you going to do with that time? Genesis, Janice, and Rachel? 24. Hang out with friends. Yes, and you can do this. Totally guilt-free. Such a wonderful feeling when you know you got this time that you can do it. Some of you may have some, like, I want to get an internship. I want to get a job. And I know now I have time to do it. I don't have to wait till next semester. I can do it now. Cool. Probably work. Awesome. We'll keep adding and subtracting. I just want to share a few more things. 45. Okay. And it's not unusual to have a lot right now because you haven't started really. And so there's going to be more things that'll fill your time, things that you choose and you want to do. So how can you use this exercise? You can do a time audit on yourself. You could, if this is your ideal schedule, you could actually keep track. Maybe week 2 or 3, week 1 is kind of a strange week. But find out what your strong days and your weekdays are and maybe make some adjustments in your schedule. The other thing I'd really encourage you to download, and if I can here, I'll put it in the chat at the end, is download the semester calendar. It's one piece of paper that has the entire semester it's the entire semester on one piece of paper. And so you can put all your major deadlines and due dates on there, and you won't be surprised by them. They won't be lost in your syllabus, and you're going to know which weeks are your busiest weeks. And you're going to be able to plan accordingly. You're not going to be surprised by that and stressed because of that. So I'll try to put this in the chat at the end. And some of you I know have goals. I hope everyone here actually has this goal of becoming a leader at UC Merced. And so a couple of quotes here that speak to this. And leaders are busy, but that's not really the point. It's what are we busy about? And are we doing things that are fulfilling to us and that are going to be fulfilling to our community? And a good question to ask yourself is what I'm doing today going to make a difference a year from now? That doesn't mean you can't have some time for Netflix and video games, but if you're spending most of your time doing those things, is that really going to make a difference a year from now? Probably not. So, and then this, you could easily insert self-management or time management is self-caring. It's a way that we can care for ourselves in this very challenging time. So good time management is actually a way you can be less stressed. So I have some, my contact information. Would love to hear more from you about how this works for you and if you have further questions. And so I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute here, and I'm going to put this this quote up. Or excuse me, this this link to download. So the first one is the link to the semester calendar. And then the second one is a link to a little survey. And if you wouldn't mind filling that out as well. I put it down here at the bottom, but it's a little hard to uh, remember all those numbers and everything in the correct order. And so I put it in the chat. That's the Qualtrics survey. But then the learning tools, and I hope you bookmark that learning tools site because there's lots of other great resources there, including online resources, other workshops we're doing this semester. And so I hope you'll, this will be one of many workshops you'll attend throughout the semester and one of many resources you'll use. And Jason hasn't come back to say, hey, we have to go. So if there's some questions, I'm happy to answer them in chat about time management or how to do this well at the university. And full disclosure, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm working on this too. I'm a doctoral student, and so different expectations and requirements, but a student nonetheless. And I have a family that I'm responsible for. I have a son, I have a wife, and managing my work. All these, sometimes feels like conflicting priorities that come into play. And so I've had to reevaluate my time too in this busy period of my life, and it's a lifelong job. It doesn't go away after you enter your sophomore year of college, and so continue to work on this, and you'll be better positioned to succeed in your future.
And James, since you brought it up, you're good on time. We can go until 3.
Okay, great. So, and I'll put that survey here again. Oops, not the right full. Other questions folks have about time management? Specific to your situation, you can also private message me. And I hope you'll spend some time talking with your family about this or your household about this as well, and what your priorities are, and really designating some spaces and some time to do well here in your first weeks. Sometimes this first week or two seems very unsettled, and so it's hard to establish that routine, but doing as much as you can now to establish that early on will be helpful.
Let me just jump on to real quick, James, to that point. I'll post a link here in just a few moments, but we do have a ready for fall start checklist for students that has been developed to get you to think about what are some things that you can do now to begin preparing or continue rather preparing for the upcoming academic year. And we actually have a specific section on there. There's actually a handout that was developed by our Dean of Students office that is giving you information on how to have conversations with family. None of these times are very different, and so for such a large population of our students who are first generation college students, I remember for myself as a first gen college student, having those conversations about what is it like and what does it mean and why I couldn't be able to do X, Y, and Z because I had to study were not easy conversations. And so we have some resources available to help you with that. So I'll just go ahead and post that here in just a moment.
Yeah, and Tatiana, thanks for that question. What should we be studying? I think that's what you're asking. What should we be studying during the time we're supposed to be studying? And that's a great question. And I wish there was a really simple, easy answer to that, but it sort of depends on what class you're in. And so one of the things I would think about as you're evaluating different methods, and we actually have lots of strategies for studying on our website too, college level strategies that work for college level classes and get to those deeper, higher order thinking skills that are required in college. But to answer your question, it depends on the class, but one of the questions I would ask yourself is what studying, if your definition of studying is practicing for the test, how can you practice for that exam in your studying? And so, replicating the test experience. And so for a math class, it'd be doing lots of problems. In a history class, it's going to be, maybe making a practice test for yourself. And there's things that I think you can do before class and things you can do after class that'll help you with that. doing your reading before class, or at least previewing the chapter before you go to class, will help you learn that information much more quickly than if you just go in cold without any learning, without any background knowledge for that class. And so, thinking about what am I going to do before class? What am I going to be doing during class? Taking good notes, maybe asking your professor for some feedback on those notes. And then what am I doing right after class? And when I mean right after, I mean right after. Like, can I spend 10 minutes and review my notes, fill in the areas I don't understand? That can go a long way in putting that information in your long-term memory. So those are some things you could try. I think the other people you can ask is ask some experienced students. You're going to learn pretty quickly who are good students in your classes, and figuring out if they're sophomore, junior, or senior. You can find out, like, learn a little bit more about what they do. Another benefit of going to tutoring at UC Merced is you encounter great students, and you can ask them. You not only can you ask them about the subject area, you can ask them about, like, how did you study? How did you prepare in this class? And many of you may not have had to study at your previous institution or study very much, and so that's a very good question. Did that help a little bit, Tatiana? Okay, great. Other questions? And we have more workshops. So those, we cover those topics in other workshops. Today our focus is pretty limited in that we focus just on time management, but we have workshops, ones that are available 24/7 that you could take today that are on our website. We have, I think, maybe 12 of them now. And one of them is on study strategies for college. And so thinking about that as another way to prepare while you still have some time before classes start. These are things you can do now, in addition to the ready checklist. Other questions? Well, my contact information is here, so feel free to email me, even if it's a couple weeks from now, and say, hey, James, I was in your time management workshop. I encountered this challenge. I'm happy to meet with you. We have a consultation program that we set up meetings with students to have learning consultations, and that information is on our website as well. So I just wish you all the best in this super challenging, very unexpected start to our school year, and we've been working hard to prepare for you. And I'm here at home too, as you maybe noticed from my video, as I'm here at home too, working from home, and there's all kinds of new challenges with that, and I'm negotiating those too. And so we're here to help you do that, and you're not alone. Yeah, the other webinars, let me see if I can find those real quick. Let's stop sharing. The link I shared earlier has the resources, but then these are some other online workshops, and these are the ones that we actually contract with this company to bring us these workshops. And so some of the topics, they cover time management too in a little different way, which I think is great. And then our staff is going to be doing, we're trying something new and doing these 15-minute workshops this semester, which we're calling blocks, workshop blocks. And those will be available on our website. We're still working on the scheduling for those. And I'll send you a link to these are good pages to bookmark, but this is our learning website calendar. So those workshops will be posted there. If you join a group and you want us to come to your group and do a workshop, we can do that too. But we felt like this format is sort of short and sweet, and know you're going to be spending a lot of time on Zoom, and so with classes, and so really focusing on strategy and getting you a strategy fairly quickly in 15 minutes is the point. And so you can put those together to make sort of create your pathway to success, or you can do that individually. So those will be on our website on the calendar section, but I included both those links here. Great question. And these webinars, we've been doing this as a webinar. The online workshops are more, we call this term asynchronous, which means you can do it at any time, at 2 a.m. in the morning, at 5 o'clock at night, whatever time. And then there's some pauses in the workshop to get you to reflect, but that's based on your own pace. So it's not a live presenter like this one is. The 15-minute workshop blocks will be a live presenter like myself. So just different things to try and see what works for you. And Jason, I haven't been checking the, yeah, this is going to be recorded, and Jason's going to put this up on maybe the Ascend website.
Yeah, I'm typing that response right now, but yes,
okay.
We are recording the sessions. We will post them online, very likely in the Ascend website, but that probably won't be until another week or two before we're able to turn those around.
Cool. Well, download that semester calendar. That's super helpful. It's the most popular handout we have every semester. We printed, we're not printing them this year because everyone's remote, but we print thousands of these every semester, and the senior as well as the freshmen come by our office to pick these up. And so, put all those major deadlines and due dates on that semester calendar as you get your syllabi for your classes, and you'll be in a good position to really know what those busy weeks are. And then what students do is they'll post it somewhere where they can see it. And so on the refrigerator, in the wall, in their room, and then they can see it every day and know what those busy weeks are going to be. So thank you, everyone. So great to have you here today, and you're being very proactive. Continue to do that, and you will find success here.
Thank you all for joining today. Have a great one, and look forward to having you start classes in just a few days' time. If you haven't already been added to your student den, you'll be added very shortly, and so hope that you will take advantage of the opportunity and connect with some staff and your fellow students here at UC Merced. So welcome, and we'll see you soon.